X2 is a great device. In fact, according to us, it's the most well-rounded phone under 20k. But with a few minor tweaks, I feel like it could be even better than it currently is. Hey guys, Omotto here from C4E Tech, and in today's video, here's how I would have spec'd out the Poco X2. So, if you do end up liking this video, please consider subscribing and turning on notifications by hitting that bell icon. Now, we are not gonna do anything unrealistic here, so it's not like I'm putting in a Snapdragon 865 inside my version of the Poco X2. Instead, we are looking at some small changes that I think would make the Poco X2 an even better buy. So, starting with the design, the 3D curved glass back, it looks good, feels premium, so I'm not gonna change anything there. The front though, well, here's where I'd change a few things. We have a 6.67-inch IPS panel with dual punch holes. Now me personally, I'd do away with the secondary depth sensor here. Selfie cameras and depth detection algorithms have gotten good enough that a single 20 megapixel camera like the one on the Poco X2 should do just fine for normal selfies as well as selfie portraits. The next thing that I'd like is a smaller screen. Something like a 6.5-inch panel would still offer similar screen real estate as the 6.67-inch display on the Poco X2. But the reduced size would make the phone a bit more easier to use. Now ideally, I'd have liked a 6-inch screen here, but then as I said before, we're talking minor changes. Now the last thing that I'd change is the refresh rate. Yes, 120Hz is the biggest selling point of this phone, but then powering it is a Snapdragon 730G. Now this is a premium mid-range offering from Qualcomm, and since it's a mid-range SoC, it would find it easier to push out 90 frames a second consistently. So the refresh rate, I'd lower it down to 90Hz. The UI would still feel snappy and fluid. I'd retain the higher touch sampling rate though. And since most popular games like PUBG and Call of Duty don't even support frame rates above 60, the screen response times would feel just as fast as before. Of course, even in games where there is support for higher frame rates, we would still get to enjoy the buttery smoothness of a 90Hz panel. With a smaller screen and a lower refresh rate, we should be able to get away with a lower capacity battery. That means reducing the battery size from 4500 to 4000 mAh should also let us reduce the weight of the device from 210 grams-ish to around the 190 grams mark. Of course, we would still retain the 27-watt fast charger, and even with the reduced battery, we should be able to get similar battery life and a 0 to 100 charge timing in under an hour. Finally, when it comes to the cameras, we are really happy with the performance of the 64 megapixel primary camera. It's the latest IMX686 sensor from Sony, and we love the pictures that it takes. The 2 megapixel depth and macro sensors though, they kinda seem to have been tacked on just to make up the numbers and look cool. Now me personally, I would swap out the 2 megapixel macro camera for a higher 13 megapixel ultra wide. Not only would it take better and more detailed pictures than the 8 megapixel sensor that we currently have, we can also use it in the macro mode. A lot of other OEMs have already done this. We can crop into the 13 megapixel sensor and use it for taking dedicated macro images. Having 3 cameras instead of 4 and only one selfie camera would free up some space inside the phone. And hopefully we would be able to use that to get a dedicated micro SD card slot instead of the hybrid solution that the Poco X2 now sports. Now, I think Poco could have done all these changes and still kept the X2 at the same 17k price. Of course, as some of you may have noticed, making all these changes would mean the Poco X2 would end up being similar to the Realme 6 Pro in some ways. However, the Snapdragon 730G, the improved camera setup, and a better form factor would mean that it would pose even more of a challenge to the Realme 6 Pro than it currently does. Now, if we had a little more budget, adding an AMOLED screen and swapping out the depth sensor with a telephoto sensor would have probably made this the perfect budget phone. But then again, it might have pushed it over the 20k mark. So that's how I would have designed the Poco X2. Agree or disagree? Let us know via the comments below. Also do let us know if you think we should turn this idea into a series. We could take phones from various price ranges, tweak them a little bit, and see if they turn out to be a better buy. As always, if you did end up liking this video, then please like, share, subscribe and all that. Oh, and turn on notifications by hitting that bell icon if you haven't yet. Thanks a lot for sticking around till the end, guys. Have a good one. Cheers!